In this video, we will discuss about components of a method. This is the general syntax of defining a method. And this is how we define a main method that we have used in several programs while creating the programs. Let us discuss the first component of the method. The first component of the method that we are going to discuss is header, or we can say method header. There is one more term that is used, method prototype. So this is called method header, or we can say header or method prototype. This entire line, this is the example, you can see the main method, this is called method header. So what method header includes? Okay, method header contains access specifier. I will copy this here. Return type, method name, and definitely parameters. Okay, that makes what? Method header. Like in this, okay, main method, public and static are access specifier, or we can also say modifier. Void is a return type, main is a method name, and string args and one is a one parameter that this main method is accepting, or we have passed here one argument, we can say. Next component is method signature. This part of the method header, method name followed by the parameters, is known as method signature. So what makes method signature? Method signature, it contains name of the method, or we can simply say method name, and parameters. So this is the example. Okay, in main method, this is the signature of main method, name of the method and parameter, that is string args square bracket. This is the signature of main method. So remember this, with the help of signature that of the method, the JVM, or we can say the compiler, is able to differentiate among the methods. Okay, that, or we can say during function call, okay, how the JVM will identify that which function is called. Okay, it will able to differentiate through the method signature. Next component is access specifier. Access specifier. Or we can say access modifier. The more appropriate term, okay, is modifier. The first modifier that we will discuss is public, that we have used, okay, in our programs. Even we have, okay, you can see here class is public and main method is public. Public means And the method, if method is public, okay, if public keyword is present in the method header, here you can see the main method public word is present. So public means this method, main method, can be accessed or can be used throughout the Java program, anywhere in the Java program. And next, okay, access specifier or access modifier is private. Okay, a method may be private. Okay, we can type here the another keyword. Private is another keyword. If method is private, then it can be accessed only in that particular class where it is declared private. Now here you can see this method is declared private in demo class, so it can be used only within the demo class. It can't be accessed, okay, outside this class. Next one is protected. So remember this, how we will identify the method is private or protected if in the method header that particular keyword is present or that access specifier is present. So if instead of private, if we type here protected, so now this method becomes protected. Now protected methods can be used within the class and by the subclasses, okay, of the class, parent class, we can say. So or we can simply say, okay, the protected methods can be inherited, okay, by the subclasses. And if nothing is mentioned, okay, if neither out of these three, okay, none of the keyword is used, public, private and protected, in the method header, then we will say it is default. Okay, default. We don't mention default keyword here because default keyword is used in switch statement. Okay, if nothing is there, then we will say it is a default. One more is there, okay, even this, okay, the static is, again, this word keyword static can be treated as, okay, access modifier or specifier. Why? Because okay, if method is static, okay, it depends upon now this change the access, the way the method will be accessed. Okay, if method is static, we can access it by creating, okay, without creating the object of the class demo. If method is non-static, okay, if static word is not present in the method header, it becomes a non-static method. A non-static method can be accessed, okay, with, okay, by creating the object of the class. But if method is static, okay, and then how it will be accessed? Without creating the object of the class. Okay, we will discuss in the upcoming topics that how to access static as well as non-static methods. So if static word is present in the method header, we will say method is static. If it is absent, if it is not present, okay, then we will say it is non-static. So static keyword instruct the compiler that how this method will be called or invoked, okay, the way it is accessed. So static is also can be said as access specifier or modifier. Next is return type. This is the return type if we look at the syntax. So, and then this example, the main method is having return type void. Now there is a key, it is a key point that a function or a method, may or may not return a value. Now how we will identify that a method will return a value or not? If return type okay, in the method header is mentioned void, like here in the main method it says void, okay, then method will not return value. If okay, the return type is not void, if it is not void, void is not there, then what are other possibilities? It may be int, float, long, double, char, bool, boolean, etc. Or we can say all primitive types or data types, one and same thing, all primitive types or data types we can say. Okay, all primitive types can be used as return type, method return type. Instead of void we can use all the primitive data types, okay, depending upon the program requirement. Let us remove this if word so that you don't get confused with this. Okay, return type can be okay void, or return type may be int floatable. Next is okay, the return type may be of reference type. Okay, return type can be reference type. A method may return a reference type, or we can say okay reference type. Reference type. Okay, return type may be object. For example, object. A method may return an object. An object. Or we can say reference type. Okay. A method may return an object. Next is fifth. Now, I forgot to discuss one key concept regarding return statement. If method is okay, if method is not returning the value, then we don't have to add something in the additional statement in the body. But if method is returning value, okay, if method is returning the value, if there is a return type, okay, if method is returning value, either int, float, double or object, then we have to use one more additional statement within the body of method, that is return. Okay, we will discuss the return statement specifically in the upcoming topics. Return is a keyword, okay, that we will use within the method body whenever the method is going to return the value, that may be int, float, double, char, any primitive data type or any object, okay, that is reference type. So what is the syntax for return statement? Okay, so we can add here, okay, return type. If okay, there will be one statement return, and here we have to mention the type of value it is going to return. Okay, or rather than mentioning here type, we should use your value, that value that it will return. Okay, so return and value. We can use also pair of brackets, okay, if we want. It is optional, or you can omit it, it depends. Okay, it will work. Either you can write in this manner the return statement type in this manner, or this, both are correct. Okay, when method, we will use return statement, remember this, only if method is returning the value, or we can say if we have mentioned the return type in the header, that is int, float, double, long. Okay, if the return type is void, we will not use this return statement within the body of method. Okay, how to use it, okay, and practically we will discuss with the help of examples in the upcoming topics. So if return type is void, we will not use return statement within the body, and if method is returning value, okay, instead of void, if is any other data type is mentioned, if we have mentioned any other data type in the method header, then we will use the return statement. Okay, that is required. Okay, we should use, otherwise, okay, the compiler will generate a compile time error. Okay, next is function name, or we can say method name. Function name or method name, one and same thing. This, okay, method name, okay, this is the method name, main is the method name. Okay, so with the help of name we are able to identify the for what purpose the method is used. Like if method name is add, okay, so it's this is the reason it is asked that we should name the method according to the program logic. Okay, if method is performing the task of adding two numbers, so we can give the name to the method add. So by looking at the name of the method, we can simply say that this the statements that are okay that we have typed or written in the method, that will add the numbers. Okay, so with the help of name we can identify the method. So next is parameter list. Okay, here the main is the name of the method in case of this example. Okay, main, because we are using most frequently the main method in our programs. Next is parameter list, or we can simply say parameters or arguments. Now there is a key statement, method, or we can say a function, okay, may or may not accept parameters or arguments. Depending upon program requirement. Like here in the main method, we can see main method is accepting one argument. If I omit, okay, if I have deleted this one argument, now this main method is not accepting even a single argument. But a method can accept, okay, one or more than one argument, okay, depending upon the program requirement. It may have none. None means not even single argument or parameter. We can pass here one like int a or string args square bracket, or we can pass here multiple arguments of different types, okay, depending upon the program requirement. That depends upon the program requirement. So function may accept or may not accept arguments or the parameters depending upon the program requirement. Next is method block. Or we can say method body or function body, one and same thing. The pair of curly brace, okay, the pair of curly brace are used in Java to define the block or the body. So this pair of curly brace defines what the body or the block of method, and within the body or the block there will be a set of statement, or we can say a single statement can be there, okay, that will be executed. Now last one, the last component is return, okay, statement. That is very important, okay. Why? Because when function is returning the value, okay, will return a value, then we have to, okay, we must have to use return statement. So this return statement, okay, which we have used here, if function will return a value, okay, if return type is not a void, okay, if it is not void, then we will use the return statement. It is mandatory there. Otherwise compiler will generate a compile time error. Now to whom the value will be returned, because it says return value, okay, as per the syntax. So this method, okay, the method will be called, okay, we are using this word again and again, that method will be called or method will be invoked. This means there will be certain part of the program or the code which will call this method, okay, and to that caller method, okay, whosoever part of that or okay, part or the code of the program, okay, that part of the program is calling this, okay, method. If let us suppose this method is returning value here int, okay, and here we have used one statement, return, let us suppose 6. So now when this method will be called, at that time this method, after the execution of all the statements, when this last statement return will be executed, this method will return a value to the caller method, value to the caller program, or we can say that okay, part of the program where this method will be called, okay, or that is called caller, okay. Let me show you one example of this return statement, a small example. And we will use this return statement here. I'm going to declare here one method, okay. Name of the method we are going to use here display, and okay, and we will use here return type int, okay, and this method, okay, this method will display, okay, and this method will only return one value, okay, whatever the value I will use after this return. So I'm going to use here 6, and then we will use here our main method public static void main, then string args. Now here, since it is a non-static method, you can see in this method header of this method display, static word is not present. This is called method header, as we have discussed. So to call a non-static method within a static method, we have to create the object of the class, because we can't access or we can't use a non-static method within the static method. To use it, okay, we can't use it directly. To access this method within the static method, we have to create the object of the class demo. So we know the syntax of creating object. So I will create the object of class demo, and after that we will call this method. Okay, now we will call this method, but how we will call this method? This, with the help of this object, we will invoke this method with the help of object ob dot display. Now when this method will be, okay, this statement is used for invoking this method. Okay, with the help of ob object followed by dot operator, we are calling, or we are invoking the method display. Now when this method will be called, this return statement will get executed. The body of method will execute, and this return statement will return one value here, where in the main method. And this is the caller method. Main method is the caller method that is calling this method display. Now the value will be returned here. So definitely if method is returning a value, so that returned value, or that returned result, we have to keep somewhere. So if I want to keep, since it is returning 6, an integer value, so I can use an integer variable int a is equal to ob, that is up, and then I can, in the end, I can display the value system.out print a. Okay, print small a. Now when this part of the statement will execute, method will be called or invoked in the main method, and this return statement will return what? 6, and that 6 will get stored in the small a, and this output statement will print what? 6 on the output terminal. If you run this code, we can see the output on the output terminal will be 6. Okay, so this is how we can use, okay, return statement. Okay, a very simple example of return statement. If we don't want to store this value in a particular variable, then we can directly type here. Okay, we can copy this statement. I am going to cut this, I'm going to paste it here. So as soon as the value will be returned, it will be displayed at the same time. That is also possible. Okay, so what will happen? ob.display, since this method is returning the value, so that value will be displayed. Okay, as soon as the method will be executed, since at this point the method is invoked or called, and this method we have used within the output statement, so whatever value that this method will return, that will be displayed, okay, on the output terminal because of this output statement. So now I'm going to change here value return 67. So if we run this code, we can see our method has returned value 67, okay, to the caller method, that is main method. In the main method, this display method is called with the help of object, that is ob. And remember this return statement in whatever method, okay, we are using, especially when method is returning value, in that scenario we will use return statement. First of all, this is the key point. If method is returning value, how we will come to know that method is returning value? If these are the scenarios, if method may result, okay, if return type is int, float, double, any other, or we can say any primitive data type, or return type is object. Okay, if here object, okay, we have used object as a return type, okay, we can use here object. Okay, so that is also another way. Okay, so display, okay, here we have used int. Okay, so return type int, so definitely the value will be returned. If I use here, now I have declared here data type int, and if I try to return here double type of value, so definitely compiler will generate an error. Okay, you can see the error. Okay, let me hover my mouse pointer over this red line. You can see the type mismatch cannot be converted from double to int. Okay, because we have specifically mentioned, we have declared a method having return type int, and we are returning the value double. That is, okay, so these are incompatible values. So the value that should be, that we want to return, okay, its type should be same as that of a return type. And remember, this return statement should be the last statement of the method. Okay, there may be number of statements before it, but okay, the return statement should be the last statement. Why it should be last statement, we will discuss in the next topic, that is features of return statement. For the time being, okay, we have covered up all the components of method.